So, brothers and sisters, our Stewardship Council has beautifully chosen for our parish theme for this year of 2021 the theme of mercy. And so I'd like to talk with you a little bit about how we might understand and celebrate this year of mercy. And I'm going to speak about the corporal works of mercy and the spiritual works of mercy. Actually, last weekend I spoke about the corporal works of mercy. These are the things we can do to alleviate people's bodily or physical sufferings or difficulties. There are ways that we act with charity, compassion, and kindness to show God, first and foremost, our love for Him and also for our the love of our brothers and neighbors who are reflections of Him. So I spoke about the corporal works of mercy, which give us a model for how we are to treat others as if they were Christ in disguise. And the corporal works of mercy are feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, sheltering the homeless, visiting the sick, visiting the prisoner, burying the dead, and giving alms to the poor. All of which you can pretty much understand how we might do those things. And so today I'm going to speak about the spiritual works of mercy. And these will be put up on our website in the bulletin. I'm going to be drawing most of this from the website of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, who have really beautifully put forward these works of mercy. We would see in our gospel today Jesus performing both corporal and spiritual works of mercy in terms of His healing power, also in terms of His expelling demons which control people's minds and spirits. And then, of course, we see in Job a good example of someone in great need of mercy, spiritual and corporal. So what are the spiritual works of mercy? The spiritual works of mercy have long been a part of our Christian tradition, appearing in the works of theologians and spiritual writers throughout all of history. Just as Jesus attended to the spiritual well-being of those He ministered to, these spiritual works of mercy guide us to help our neighbor in their spiritual needs. So the 7 spiritual works of mercy are as follows: counseling the doubtful, instructing the ignorant, admonishing the sinner, comforting the sorrowful, forgiving injuries, bearing wrongs patiently, and praying for the living and the dead. So, let's talk a little bit about each one. Counseling the doubtful. Everyone has moments of doubt in their faith journey. Nevertheless, we must always remember that Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and turn to Him along our way. So how can we help those who are suffering that spiritual crisis, that moment of doubt? Well, we can learn from the sacred scripture. The book of Proverbs says, "Listen to counsel and receive instruction, that you may eventually become wise." So the first thing we can do is ourselves be open to those who are offering their help to us and sharing their faith with us. Then the second thing we can do is be open to others, and be able to help them in their struggles. The cross of Christ, we are told, the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than any human strength. So we always are going to turn to God. So just ask the question, Has someone asked you for advice? It can be any kind of advice, not just spiritual or faith-based, but any kind of advice. If so, then what you can do is orient your response to them by Christ, through Christ. Think in terms of how would Christ answer this question? What kind of advice would Christ give in this situation? In other words, he who is the way, the truth, and the life can be the best source of wisdom and counsel. Doesn't necessarily mean quoting the scriptures, but it certainly can inform your response to someone who's asking for your help, your counsel, or your advice. The second thing we can all do is to follow Christ by our witnessing by our life, so that others may see God's love revealed in our actions. When we do that, we help people who are struggling in their faith. We help people who are searching for God. They see what we're doing and how we are trying to help others, and they ask themselves the question, well, is that what would help me find God? Is that faith, that way of life, a way to find God? So we can do that, and that's why my favorite dismissal for the Mass is glorify the Lord by your life. Because when we do that, we are giving counsel to the doubtful. Or you can accompany a friend who is struggling by helping them join a parish group, maybe a faith formation program or some other program in the church, or even just simply sharing some book or reading or spiritual passage that you found useful in dealing with faith in your own life. Share that with someone you know who may be struggling in their own faith life. So the second is instructing the ignorant. Now here again, we're not using the term ignorant as a pejorative, as some kind of insulting thing. It's just people sometimes do not know. They haven't had the experiences we have. They haven't been exposed to the faith as we have. And so in order to learn about their faith, we can help them. We can help them by talking to them about our own faith, not being afraid to share what we believe, what has given us comfort and hope in our own lives. There's always something more to discover about the faith. So again, ourselves being open to studying the Catechism of the Church, for example. You can go on a pilgrimage. That's a beautiful way to help learn more about your faith. You can volunteer to help for the religious education programs of our parish. We're going to be starting up again with in-person classes, and we're going to need catechists. That's a way to instruct the ignorant. In other words, help our young people know about God. Any one of you who is a parent, you are already a catechist. I've said that before. So there's no need to be fearful or to say, well, I can't do that. You're already doing it. You can invite someone to go to Mass with you on the weekends. Again, we're somewhat limited, but we still have plenty of Masses with plenty of room. And finally, you can know your own faith a little bit better. Attend a Bible study. Come to one of the various programs in the parish, read the Catechism of the Church, or one of the books that are written about the Catechism, which are written a little bit more user-friendly than the Catechism itself. And by doing that, you can learn more about the faith to instruct those who don't know about the faith. Admonishing the sinner. Well, here again, this is not being judgmental. We're not to judge. But we can be supportive in helping others find their way to God by correcting their mistakes, their sinfulness even. In other words, if we are all watching out for each other, it doesn't become a judgmental thing. It becomes a supportive and loving thing. Together we learn to walk more closely with Christ. So, first of all, in humility, we need to strive to create a culture in the parish that does not accept sin. even while realizing that we all fall at times. But again, sin is sin. It harms us. It harms our soul. It draws us away from God. We have to be strong in that, teaching that, but at the same time recognizing that we are all in need of God's mercy. That's the whole idea behind this. We are all beneficiaries of God's love and mercy, which is why we extend it to others. And when it is necessary to correct someone, do so without being arrogant about it. Again, do so with a sense of we're all learning. We are all trying to find our way to God. So we do it with a great sense of humility. And finally, we have to remember the words of our Savior. Remove the wooden beam from your eye first, then you will see clearly to remove the splinter from your brother's eye. Too often I see this, and it's really not good when we judge others that we see on TV or in the media or hear about, or we all decide, well, that's wrong. Well, maybe what they're saying is wrong. Maybe what they're putting forward may be wrong, but we don't know their life or their circumstance. So we have to start first with ourselves. How can I live according to the gospel of Christ? Only then can I truly discern whether what people are saying is right or wrong. Comforting the sorrowful. Well, this means, first of all, being aware of the people who are grieving around us, being aware of those who are mourning. You know, sometimes it can be that a person passes away. We know that person was very important in someone's life. So we say a word of encouragement. We say something on the day of their funeral or whatever. Do we remember that 6 months later that person may still be grieving? Do we remember that a year later they may still feel that loss and offer our help, our support, our comfort then? And again, these are simple ways by which we do these works of mercy. We open ourselves, we listen to people. That's really all it takes. How are you doing now? How are things going for you and the family? Even if we're not sure of the right words to say, simply being present to someone who has lost someone can be a way of performing this work of mercy. We can lend a listening ear to those going through a tough time. Maybe it's not about having lost someone. Maybe it's about someone who lost a job, someone who's having a difficult time with other issues, financial, whatever. Even just sending a letter or a card to say, I'm thinking of you, I'm praying for you. Those can be powerful works of mercy, spiritual works of mercy that we can do. Take a few moments from your day and do that, because what is so simple for you to do can mean so much. It can make a lifetime of difference to someone who is going through a difficult time. The next is forgiving injuries. I know I was just reading something the other day about how we're all just a little bit short-tempered right now. We're all ready for this to end, and sure, that's the case, which means we sometimes take that out on people we shouldn't, people we love, people who are close to us. So what do? We have to forgive others in difficult times. We have to do so because God's limitless mercy and compassion are offered to us. Jesus teaches us that we should forgive as God forgives. And I've often heard it said, God forgives and forgets. Not in the sense of mentally forgetting something that happened, but putting it behind you, letting go of it. Forgiving means putting something behind and moving into the future. Let go of grudges. Sometimes it's as simple as saying sorry, even if you don't think you were wrong, even if you don't think you were the one who created the problem. Sorry can go a long way. I'm sorry for however I have offended you. I'm sorry for whatever I have done to make you feel bad. That simple thing can transform hearts and lives. Maybe we don't say, "I'm sorry," enough. Maybe our pride gets in the way. But as a spiritual work of mercy, saying sorry not only helps our relationships with one another, it helps our relationship with God. We can certainly go to the sacrament of reconciliation, or we may pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet, all of which are about forgiveness. Bearing wrongs patiently. This is similar but not the same. In our first reading today, we're going to see Job. Job is constantly tempted not to accept the suffering that has come his way. His friends are telling him, "Oh, it's because you sinned, you did wrong, abandon God." He's abandoned you. He's not going to do that. He's going to bear his suffering patiently because at the end he knows God is a loving God. So do not be bitter about the wrongs done against you. Place your hope in God so that you may endure the troubles of this world and face them with a compassionate spirit. If you're frustrated with someone, take a moment, step away from the situation, take a few deep breaths, maybe even pray an Our Father or a Hail Mary, and ask God for patience. If we do that, I can promise you the results will be much better than if you act out of frustration or anger. So it is actually a work of mercy, a moment of grace when you bear a wrong patiently. And then finally, praying for the living and the dead. Prayer is one of the most powerful ways we can support each other. When we join together in praying for the living and the dead, we entrust ourselves and all that is into God's care. That's why our prayers of the faithful, our Mass intentions, are so important. Hopefully you are listening and actively engaging in that prayer. So what are some of the things you can do? Spiritual works of mercy. You can request a Mass intention for a friend. Oftentimes it's just family members who request those for each other, but anyone can ask for any intention. So you can ask for a friend, you can ask for someone who's close to you, or you can ask certainly for a family member. You can also keep a book of prayer intentions. In reality, for myself, when someone asks me to pray for something and I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to maybe remember, I put it in my cell phone, that little note app there that you can just make a note to yourself, and that way remember to pray for those who are in need of prayer and have asked for that. And you can ask a friend, ask a family member, is there anything I can pray for you about? We wait until someone asks and then we do the prayer. Maybe we ask and say, I've just noticed you seem a little bit down or whatever. Can I pray for you? Is there something special or specific I can pray for you about? Through prayer, we entrust our concerns and our cares to God, and we know that God will hear and answer those prayers. So brothers and sisters, as I say, I'm going to put all of these up on the website and in our bulletin, and hopefully you kind of get a head start on Lent by thinking about these things and ways in which we can make this truly a year of mercy for ourselves in our parish family of St. Angelo Merici. The scriptures are filled with examples for us to follow, and certainly we can think of some things on our own that will help us to do that. One of the corporal works of mercy, for example, feed the hungry. We have rice bowls there in the narthex of the church. We ask you and your family to pick one up. That can be a powerful way of feeding the hungry by making a little donation every day towards that very possibility.